my god, hello, hi. You look really nice. You like fall. Is this your favorite time of year? I see it, you glowing. Me, I have just gotten done with a nice dose of PMS/seasonal depression, so I'm in a great mood. Yeah, back. Not particularly better than ever, but you know, around the baseline. It's Kendall here. If you're new around here, welcome. If you're not new around here, what is up? Home skillet biscuit. And happy Saturday. If you don't know what Saturday is when I do a little something on my channel called Bad Movies and a Beat. Series on my channel where we talk about bad movies while putting my makeup on. And today I'm bringing up a repressed memory that's not that old. If you recall, a few months ago, we all had the pleasure of hearing about how BET was coming out with a movie called Karen. And somehow, which is kind of impressive, it was worse than I ever thought it could be. If I was gonna, again, sacrifice my sanity in such a way for content, the least I can do is make a video about it. So here, we're sharing it. Again, commiserate. I'm a bit of a sadist. Here we go. We're all gonna walk through this together. But before we do that, we must pay some bills because your girl is moving. I gotta pay for burly men to pick up boxes. So take it away, Ad Roll Kennie. Hello all, it is Ad Roll Kennie, and I'm really excited to announce that today's video is sponsored by a service that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is BetterHelp. I have a history with BetterHelp. The worst times of my life have been helped by BetterHelp. It feels like a very full circle moment right now. I love that I'm able to share with you guys services that I use and I sing praises to my friends and family who need support, especially for something as serious as like taking control of your mental health and finding support for that. If you don't know, BetterHelp is a service that allows you to get professional and confidential online counseling within 48 hours of signing up. With over 20,000 therapists on their network, you're sure to find someone that fits your particular needs with their online service that is available worldwide. You can log in anytime, 24/7, and send a message to your therapist, and they can respond to you with insightful messages, tools, and support. And then in addition to that, you have weekly sessions that you can do in whatever format is most comfortable for you, either through text, phone, or video call, whichever is best, most comfortable, and most convenient for you. BetterHelp is not a crisis line, and it's not self-help. It is professional, affordable therapy done online, and financial aid is available. So again, I have a history with BetterHelp. I have used their service now for a little over a year consecutively. I originally signed up because 2020. That's enough. That's enough to explain. It was a lot. And I just felt like, wow, I'm really at my wit's end. And the final straw, for those of you that don't know, was that I actually lost my best friend, my mommy, the home dog. And it was hard. I actually got my therapist right before she passed. Like, we knew that she was going. What was really, really helpful through BetterHelp was that I was able to find somebody who has a background in grief counseling and some other criteria that I knew would make me feel most comfortable in this kind of context, preferably a Black woman, and preferably a Black woman who is about 10 to 15 years my senior. That's personally what I felt would be the most beneficial for me. And they hooked me up with my current therapist. I haven't had to change therapists because she's just been, just like any other relationship, you need to build a relationship with your counselor, and some people just don't mesh well. So if you ever have to change counselors, BetterHelp makes it incredibly easy. I recommend it to everyone. Like friends, people I barely know. Have you considered therapy, and have you considered BetterHelp? So yes, if you've ever been considering online therapy, I would highly recommend checking out BetterHelp, especially because BetterHelp is actually offering a 10% off discount for my viewers that click on the link below. So feel free to visit betterhelp.com/KennieJD. That's better, HELP. Big thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video, and let's get on to the debauchery. Last week's video, we watched Malignant, and I love Malignant, and I won't let anybody shame me for like Malignant. Malignant is chaos, and I loved it. It was delicious, off the wall foolishness. But if you haven't checked out that video, feel free to check it out up above, or you can check it out in the Bad Movies and a Beat playlist. Okay, so did you see my energy just This week we're going into uncharted territory for me on this channel. And that's because we're going to talk about BET. Oh boy. BET, Black Entertainment Television. It is the bane to my Negro existence, and unsurprisingly has not been owned by black people for years. I think it's owned by Viacom CBS. So ethnic. When I was a kid, BET was actually pretty great. You would go on there and watch 106 in Park. You stayed up late at night, you could watch Comic View, but I was too young to even get the jokes. Like, my family would laugh at them, so I'm like, hey. Play reruns of like back when black sitcoms were actually about black people and not explaining blackness to white people. Good times. That as a black person, I find BET to be some of the most regressive shit. Like, just next to Terry Crews and Boozy. And that's only, to me, supplemented by their rather recent attempts into making original film, which leads us to when a few months ago we saw the trailer of BET's new original film called Karen, about a Karen. Yes, again, this is a real movie. It's not just all of our collective fever dream that we're just gonna act like didn't happen a few months ago. No, it's a movie that if you so take the time to do so, you could watch. But like I said before, Karen is truly something I had no way of preparing for. I wasn't aware of how just befuddling of a viewing experience it actually was. So many horrible choices were made in the course of making this movie, primarily that it was made at all. If you can't guess, Karen is about a middle-aged white woman named Karen who terrorizes her new neighbors, who happen to be a young black couple, simply because they're black, and she uses her white privilege and white femininity to terrorize these two people for no reason. And I remember when seeing the trailer, I had so many questions go through my mind. Namely, who wanted this? Like, who asked for this? Who is the projected audience for this? Because one would think if it's on BET, it's black people, no? This movie is deeply offensive to me, even though it is, spoiler, made by a black man. Weirdly enough, despite this movie being written and directed by a black man, it felt incredibly ill-informed.
What I mean by that is everything feels like a stereotype of even the people you're supposed to be making sympathetic figures. So the black couple becomes this like weird, unnatural representation of blackness. There's no subtlety. It's like he's never actually met a socially conscious black person. He just needed to make a caricature of that.
And the more I watched the movie and the more I learned about the director, the more I was like, my instincts weren't too far off. I found the movie so deeply confusing tonally, which also didn't help me kind of understand why you would make a movie like this. Most of this movie just felt like explaining why Karenism is a bad thing and why we should say it's bad, which, if you perceive your audience to be mostly black people, we know. We're very well aware. Sorry, I'm short-circuiting. Hey, black people, you want to see your own triggering realities on screen, but with like a quirky, centralized white figure?
If anything, it makes it feel like the director just discovered racism and he's like, I gotta get people talking about this. Like, what?
I do understand that there's a sizable amount of this movie that is attempting comedy. And basically the only thing within that succeeds is her poorly constructed 27-piece quick weave. Outside of that, none of the things that I feel like they wanted to be funny are actually funny. And anything that is funny is just because of the sheer poor construction of the movie.
Because there's also no jokes in it either. It's not funny. There's nothing funny. It's like a giant sketch where we already know the punchlines. Therefore, there are no jokes.
And I'm not sitting here saying that you can't make a movie about something that's really triggering. I feel like the best comedy comes from a place of pain, personally. But to make a movie like that, you have to be very skilled at comedy. Like, this movie would have been a great Key and Peele sketch. Or like an amazing episode of the Boondocks. That would have been funny. That would have been funny and cathartic and satirical, but it also would have done justice to the context of what we're talking about. This movie just felt like someone who wasn't completely socially aware, but he saw an opportunity to make money off of it.
Never committed to either being a comedy or a completely straight movie. And because it talks about very serious topics poorly, it feels like you're making a mockery of it. Like even the black people are caricaturized, and it's so weird.
I am heated, so I've talked a lot, and we haven't even gotten to the movie itself. So, without further ado, this is Karen, 2021. The film begins with an overhead shot of a chalk mural that says Black Lives Matter, and we swiftly see Karen come in and destroy the mural. We meet our theoretical main characters. Again, I feel like Karen is quite centralized in this film, so... okay. But our main characters are a black couple, Malik and Imani. They've recently moved into the neighborhood. The thing that I find so fascinating about them is that they seem completely unaware that racist white people exist in the South, in Georgia. This is an Atlanta suburb. While living in a suburban area named after a Confederate soldier. That's kind of what ends up being their sort of story arc, especially Imani, the wife. It's like she realizes, wow, people are actually racist. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna go on a rant again. I've just started the movie. It feels like a black man making a movie to tell other black people that racism exists. So it's the stupidest, I'm sorry, it's the dumbest. They do this several times in the movie, but they have an explicit conversation about the wokeness of their significant other, about how they're a strong black man or woman and they're intelligent and explicitly woke.
You are a strong, beautiful, intelligent, and woke black man.
She's a strong black woman. Queen.
It's also interesting because these two are as dumb as a box of rocks. Dumb shit that theoretically someone who's woke and sensitive to the conversation of racism would be aware of, but sure. Okay, we meet Karen. They wax stick the out of that part. You could cook eggs on it. But yeah, we meet Karen and an unnamed Asian woman, and the Asian woman is like, hey, it's great. Black couple, cool, we'll have some diversity around here. They're both on board for their neighborhood's HOA. Apparently Karen is the president of it, and the Asian woman is like, oh, maybe we can get them on the HOA board, that'd be great. And Karen is not at all interested. Immediately upon realizing that there are Negroes afoot, Karen starts installing security cameras, many of which are pointed directly at their home. Later, Karen goes up to Malik and introduces herself. She tells a supposed joke.
Casing the joint. We don't have any cash.
Dumbass.
She has a brother who is hot.
Your brother is hot.
According to the script, I don't know, I guess that was supposed to be one of the supposed jokes. And he's a cop. Shocker, no one saw that coming. While at lunch, Karen is angered by the sound of black merriment and goes to harass some black men who are sitting at the same restaurant as her. And after she leaves, they mock her because, oh, Edna looking ass bitch. She then uses her Karen superpower of calling the manager, which results in the two black men being forced to leave the establishment. In the next scene, we see Malik. He is listening to music in his own car and smoking weed inside, and out comes Karen. Can you not smoke outside at night in your own car on your own property? My children are inside. And I would hate for them to see you, even though it's pitch black outside. Thanks, sorry. While there, they have another obviously racist conversation where she's like, so why did you guys come? Of all the places you could be.
Migrating from the cities and infiltrating the suburban neighborhood.
Bitch.
He goes back inside and he talks to his wife and he's basically like, wow, Karen's so nosy.
We have a white entitled neighbor named Karen.
Whoa, wait, stop. That night, the couple goes upstairs and has sex right next to the window. Karen's 17-year-old son ends up seeing them about to get down like a little freaking creeper. And here comes Karen and she's like, go downstairs and let mommy watch the monkeys mate. That night, Imani and Malik hear a sound outside. Hello everyone and welcome to the new game show called Guess What the Would Do. The game show in which we realistically ask ourselves what is the most probable course of action that any black person in a suspenseful movie will do. A, lock the doors and go back to bed. B, go investigate outside. Or C, literally anything but B. These curious motherfuckers get his gun and go check what was the sound outside. Luckily, it was simply a stray dog that came and knocked over their garbage can. While they're outside, Karen is looking at them through her security cameras. But the couple again realize that the security camera is pointed directly at their home, which is confusing to me because you saw her installing it. Of course it's What? Imani decides that she'll go over and make amends with Karen as if she's done anything wrong. But basically, be neighborly, give her a nasty ass pecan pie. I don't like pie. But Imani's all nice, nasty. She's like, hi, move your camera, please. Thank you. And Karen's like, okay, fine. Also change your blinds because like my son saw you guys stripping last night. You might have permanently traumatized my son, you know. And for some reason, despite Imani and Malik having all these interactions in which they're very well aware that this woman is deeply racist, she's like, oh, we can get tea together. We can be neighborly. And then she closed the door in her face. Girl, that's like a good $45 pan. What is your problem? She throw her pie pan away. That's when you gotta beat a bitch ass. Now, if you haven't gathered already, Karen, though she hates blacks, fetishizes black men. So she wants to be all up on Malik for some reason. So when Malik ends up just playing an innocent game of basketball with her son, she comes out and uses that as an opportunity to start talking to him. She's like, hey, can you put antifreeze in my car? Is your wrist broke? But he's trying to be neighborly, so he does it, and then she starts filling him up on his arm, and it shocks him, and he ends up spilling some antifreeze on his shirt. Karen offers that he take his shirt off so that she can put it in the wash, and he declines. He's like, no, I'm good. Just let me wash my hands. I'm fine. She directs him to the bathroom, and he accidentally goes into the wrong room and ends up seeing her hub of sorts where she just stalks out their house with all of her security cameras. And for some reason, he doesn't immediately leave the house. He goes to wash his hands, where he finds a soap dispenser with a Confederate flag on it and hanging photos of like Confederate soldiers and stuff.
When I went to wash my hands, there was a Confederate soap dispenser and Confederate soldiers on the wall.
You've never seen a Confederate flag? You're in Georgia. Why are you shocked by racism in Georgia? Especially with someone who's been explicitly racist to you this entire, like, again, supposedly incredibly woke black people. And for some reason, we're not particularly privy to the, I wouldn't even call it microaggressions that Karen has done this entire movie. You made the black main characters here really stupid, because that's the only way this makes sense to me. It's such a choice, isn't it? It's not that they ended up in an area and met up with racist people and recognized the racist actions, ended up having a very outwardly racist neighbor and they're constantly fighting her racism all through the movie. That would make more sense to me. What they did is put these two black people next to a racist white woman and they have no idea that she's racist. But nothing that has happened between them and this woman sounds off any alarms. Again, woke, intelligent, black, strong woman and man. And it's like you wrote the stupidest people. But he tells his wife, chick has a control room in her house watching our house. And she's just like, she does nothing with that information at all. At one point, she was more focused on the concept that he might be having an affair with her, and I don't know why she thought that would happen. Anyway. So at the HOA meeting, despite her fetishism for Malik, Karen is like, let's get rid of the Negroes. They undress in their own home. They smoke narcotics, marijuana. Next thing you'll know, they'll bring in the pimps and the prostitutes, and the whole neighborhood will go to Everybody else in that room is pretty racist too, but they're like the apathetic racist. They're like, yeah, they're black, like let them stay. It makes us look good. It makes us look inclusive. The Asian woman is basically calling everyone racist. So good on you, sis. Because the dialogue is so bad, she's so poorly written too. So, like it doesn't matter. I want to move to cite them. And everybody's like, for what? We're not gonna do that. And so they send her home and she's just sitting there seething, going, niggers, Dinkelberg. Then suddenly, for some reason, Karen tries to be friends with Imani and then invites herself to their housewarming party that they're having with all of their black friends. This is gonna go great. One of the guests is actually the man that Karen had kicked out of the restaurant for enjoying conversation in public. Remember when I said that this movie feels like a movie meant to explain why racism is bad? It was really when I was considering just turning the movie off because it was starting to be a lot and I was getting very frustrated because Karen ends up getting in a conversation with the other black guests about how all lives matter, and what proceeds is just this poorly rendered, triggering ass conversation about black anger and slavery and police brutality, and if you don't like it here, go back to Africa.
We're not angry, we're fed up.
Can't tell the difference.
A very distinct one, since the first ship landed on the coast of Africa some 400 years ago.
I don't even know where to start. This whole scene is so strange, again, for a perceived black audience. I have a sneaking suspicion that the director is deeply proud of this scene, and that's what makes it so offensive. I think what makes me so angry about this movie, I don't even care about the characters. The characters don't anger me, which I assume is what he was trying to get at, the director. What angers me is that in the process of making this movie, you completely made a mockery of that conversation in general. And then outside of that, you turned Karen into like a supervillain, an arch evil type character, when that's not what she is. She's an entitled, privileged white woman. It's a very real and tangible concept. They finally kick Karen out of the house because of her all life mattering and go back to Africa. Karen is still sexually interested in Malik, and she's like, though I do not like you blacks, I like you, my soul lovable jungle ape. And Malik is just kind of apathetic to that conversation. I guess he dislikes her. I don't know. No one makes any strong declarations against her for most of the movie. But like a little mischievous fox, here comes Karen and she knocks over their trash can and runs away like a raccoon. Why'd she run like that? When Imani comes out to pick up the garbage thinking that it was knocked over by a stray dog, out comes Karen's daughter. I just realized something. Why are they dressed like they're in Utah? Is she wearing Uggs in Georgia? Does it get cold enough to wear Uggs in Georgia? And a Canada Goose? What? The little girl ends up talking about how she is currently in a little like third grader relationship with a black boy. She can't tell her mom because she doesn't like black people, quote unquote. They hit us with this Shyamalan shot that's like this close away from both of their faces.
Well, I'm black.
Hello? Is anyone in there, bitch? Like, why is she shocked by that? Like, what? Why did this realization floor her? Woke, intelligent black woman. Like, the fact that Imani and Malik had to be so stupid for this progression of events only furthers that I think this movie is just deeply offensive. Anyway, out comes Karen, and she's like, Katie, stop fraternizing with the jigaboos.
Leave my family alone.
If she don't stop now, I might think she's racist.
The next day, Karen profiles some black teenagers, or at least two, I don't know if the third, 2.5 black teenagers, who were walking around in the area. She believed that they had broke in and were trying to case the place, just the whole neighborhood, I guess, like no specific place. But and one of the kids is like, I live here, like what are you doing? And so she plays the signature 3-piece Karen combo. She fake cries, she tells lies, she plays victim. Her brother comes in, who is a cop, and he arrests the kids. And the arrest is recorded by Imani, who was passing by as the arrest was taking place. And again, this is just another triggering scene done so poorly. After so much evidence that apparently Imani was not aware of until now, she's like, wow.
We are living next door to a racist.
Anyway, she's like, yeah, I want to move now. I can't do this. And Malik is like, honey, we can't run away from white people. We gotta stand strong or something. Karen and her cop brother commiserate over their shared hatred of black people.
Do you remember that black family that moved into our neighborhood when we were little? And then 2 families came, and then 3 families, and then the drugs, and then the whole neighborhood went bad.
What is she, the f***ing Joker? Why are they treating this like it's an origin story, like a villain origin story?
Back at the HOA, they fire Karen because she called the police on a kid who did indeed live in the area, whose father apparently is a very famous civil rights attorney who is now suing the HOA.
I am not going down without a fight, you hear me?
Girl, I want to know what direction was said for this shot. This scene is where they start to do that thing that I was talking about, turning Karen into this like evil villain, like in a very comic book like way, this kind of mystical, mystified phenomenon that is a Karen, as opposed to like a white woman in your neighborhood who sells Arbonne. They made her into this thing that doesn't seem real, even though that's the whole point of this movie, is that this is a very real thing. As revenge, Karen asks her brother to pull over Malik while he's driving.
Boy, running like Kunta Kinte, boy.
What? Huh? What?
Side note, they are playing this horrible song called Whips and Chains. It sounds like CeeLo Green, and it is just the worst thing I've heard in a very long time. With that said, I love CeeLo Green. It reminded me that I haven't heard Closet Freak in years. Anyway, he gets pulled over by the cop brother who plants a felony amount of marijuana in his backseat. He ends up getting arrested for possession, assaulting an officer, and resisting arrest. The rookie cop that's with the brother is like, dude, stop. After they arrest Malik, the rookie cop is like, I'm gonna file a report against you. And then he goes on about how he's a part of some brotherhood. And apparently it's not the Aryan Brotherhood, but it's actual like a secret society within police that will help him not get in trouble. And it's like, just be a police officer. What's the secret? What secret is involved? Girl, I'm tired. Also, does talk like Batman.
The Brotherhood. That makes me untouchable.
But he's released, I guess, without charge because, I don't know, I guess the rookie wrote a letter. Karen and Imani talk. For some reason, Karen's sitting on her car, and Imani didn't immediately just say, I'm gonna spray you with the hose or something.
Got pushed out of our neighborhood when the whole crack epidemic started.
Okay, and?
I just don't want you in my neighborhood.
Because your blackness really triggers me, could you guys just like move? Please? And so now Imani is like, we're not going anywhere. Now I wanna stay. So instead they decide to go to that lawyer who is the father of the kid that Karen got arrested even though he lived in the area. Sorry to follow it. I was so energetic at the beginning of this movie. This movie drained me. And he agrees to help. And Karen finds out that that lawyer is involved and she's like, fine, we need to take them out, her and her brothers. The brother comes in and unlawfully arrests Malik for nothing. So stupid. They start playing this like Tyler Perry-esque music in slow motion as the police take him away. But now we have to have the final showdown because Karen is gonna take things into her own hands. She's gonna go full home invader and break into their house and try to shoot Imani. There's a whole poorly choreographed fight scene. There was something in it that was actually legitimately funny. I still don't know to what degree they actually tried to do it because it's kind of subtle. I don't think they would have been good at that. But Bonnie punches her one time and she screams like a good half second too late. And that shit was funny. That was the only true laugh they ever got out of me. So I'll give them that one. We'll assume that was intentional. I'll give them that one. The police arrives and the brother comes in. Karen shoots Imani in the shoulder and the brother stands there making up an alibi about what happened. But Rookie comes in and he's like, you shot her, but she's still alive. Put your hands up. And then there's a showdown. He ends up shooting the brother in the face. They birdemicked. They MS painted the bullet wound on his forehead. It was moving. Again, I don't think that was supposed to be anything that actually made me laugh. Was so unintentional. And then with her last energy, Imani shoots Karen. She says some one-liner.
Told you we weren't going anywhere, bitch.
The rookie is able to get her to the hospital, so she survives. Film closes out as the civil rights lawyer makes a speech about civil rights and police brutality, and the nigga at the end with the French horn is blaring over the entire speech. I didn't hear shit he was talking about. And the movie ends with a solemn Black Lives Matter. That was a lot. That was a lot. Let's close up and talk a bit about the director. His name is Coke Daniels. And as you can imagine, after being so befuddled about why a movie like this was made, I had to figure out more of the intentions. Again, I'm trying to give benefit of the doubt here. I found an article called Karen Director Defends His Controversial Movie. Quote, "It's a feel-good film." And the first few lines of his defense gave me mid-40s annoying black uncle. Even the first few words of how he defended it actually made it so much worse for me. I need people to understand my motivations. This is my 9th film. I've been in the business for 20 years. Don't tell nobody that. Don't admit that. I would tell people this is my first endeavor. I've never done this before. You know, mistakes were made and I'll do better next time. I would never admit this is not my first film, but okay. I've worked with some of the best and brightest in the business. I'm not some novice filmmaker who got thrown a budget by Hollywood and thought, wouldn't it be nice to poke fun at Karens? Daniels is a self-proclaimed comedic filmmaker. He thought of Karen as its own form of, quote, satire on modern day race relations in America. He continues to say that the movie was an attempt to, again, spark dialogue and continue conversations about social justice and racism in this country. The movie creates the perfect platform for us to really set the stage for that discussion. Pardon? You wrote this in the midst of George Floyd protests. You didn't start, you literally just wanted to capitalize on the frenzy around the social media presence, so to speak, of Karens. Just say that. Just say you're a black dude that wanted to make money off of Karens. Reparations, if you will. We would have all applauded. I think if you were honest about that, the movie would have been better, but the movie's so disingenuous too. Isn't even really about the black people. Despite being main characters, they're somehow in the background of Karen's story, which is oh so ironic. We learn nothing of their interactions with racism prior to this, which would maybe make more sense on why they were so surprised by it. Like maybe they lived somewhere where it was very diverse, so much overt racism was unlikely. But they didn't do that. They spent more focus on why Karen is a supervillain. When asked how he felt about the receptions of his movie after the trailer was released, he said, quote, "I'm gonna be honest with you. I loved it. I fully expected this when I wrote the ominous word on the title page. What's amazing about it is the point of us making this film was to spark dialogue and continue conversations about social injustice and racism in this country. We need to talk about some ugly truths. And if it takes my movie to be the Trojan horse to get us into them, how big of a head do you have to have?" It's not a movie about black exploitation. It's literally exploiting black trauma to make you, a singular person, a quick coin because you did nothing to benefit this conversation. All you did was memify it. Sound like you were starting it. How full of yourself do you have to be? Are you not embarrassed? Anyway, he continues to say the movie is intended to be both super serious and both super comedic. We laugh at Karen videos. Do we? We laugh at some of these racist confrontations that happen online every day. Do we? But deep down inside, it's not funny. Not deep down at all. Very much so on the surface. When they turn left and turn violent, it's not funny anymore. That's the tone of the film. You're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry, you're gonna get angry. There is so much dip on your chip, man. One, I shed no tears. I felt angry at you, not at any of the characters in this movie. I was just pissed off that someone even did this. There were moments I laughed, but I don't think I was supposed to at those moments. I have seen some people who are able to skillfully turn a really ugly situation into something funny as a respite for Black people. But the videos themselves, there is nothing funny about a Karen video. And when he says things like, we laugh, do we? I don't. I feel like you're talking for a lot of people. It just feels so misinformed, ill-informed, which is so interesting being that it is made by a Black man. But though that isn't funny, there is one thing about this that actually is funny in a very ironic way, because I continued reading the article and we get to the part on casting decisions. As far as casting for actress Taryn Manning as Karen, she's someone who voiced support for both QAnon and Trump and has claimed that Black Lives Matter protests are funded by Soros. In other words, sought to undermine Black Lives Matter protests by calling them a liberal conspiracy. So was that casting intentional given her beliefs? You can't make this shit up. Daniels denies hearing about most of the alleged support that Manning has had for Trump, QAnon, and says, quote, I didn't hire her for her political views. I hired her to play Karen and she did an incredible job. A whole movie that is innately political. Well, she has voiced support for Trump and criticized Black Lives Matter protests, so I'm curious if you had conversations during the course of filming with her about the film's content and some of these issues. Nah, she just liked the material. He continues to say that he doesn't believe that she's a Trump supporter and that it was just social media trying to cancel her. But the irony is the best comedy to come from this movie, honestly. That's funnier than anything this movie has done this entire time. This movie is so exploitative. Not all skin folk are kinfolk. Yeah, I hated this. This was bad. This one got me hot. I mean, I guess he got what he wanted from me because I'm talking about it. That's all for today, folks. If you liked today's video, feel free to like today's video. Follow me on all my social media, Instagram and Twitter, both of which are KennieJD. And if you have any recommendations for bad movies I should watch, feel free to put those down in the comments section. And I will see you guys next time.